Hey, dummy. And I can see that you're on the call already. You'll have to put up with us again doing our technical check. Apologies. Are you there, dummy?
Hi, yes I am. Sorry, I was on mute.
You're frantically finding that mute button. Okay. Do you mind if we just do a quick technical check?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so and if you don't mind, I'll just also check the video.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. For those people that have joined us, we're just doing some technical checks, so please bear with us. Are you seeing my screen, Tommy?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and are you seeing my slides or my speaker notes?
I can see the slides, but I can also see where it says click to add notes. Yeah, I can see the notes as well.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
No.
Okay, let's do it the other way around then. Okay, and show. Oh, that's not. Okay, share. So you're seeing the Zoom meet screen right now, or
No, I'm seeing PowerPoint.
Ah, Zoom is being particularly irksome today. Okay, you are desktop too. You must believe in yourself.
Now I'm seeing Zoom
Okay.
in the web browser. Okay, now I'm seeing the slide properly.
Oh, I had to double click it twice for it to work. Okay, brilliant. And just quickly,
Yeah.
can you confirm that the sound is coming through okay on this? Bliss.
Is your organization?
Okay, okay. Okay. That is excellent. Thank you very much. Those are the kind of things I panic about.
Yeah, if anything, the video was a little loud when it first started.
Okay. I will. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Look at that. Let's bring it down a notch, YouTube.
Blast people with our wonderful music. Wonderful.
Calm down, YouTube. Okay, fine. That's good feedback. Awesome. Okay. Right. I will again apologize to anyone who had to see us using my technical checks. This will be edited from this will be deleted scene when the DVD is released. So you don't have to put up with this on the recording if you're watching again. We'll be starting in about 6 minutes. In the meantime, chat is open and Dummy will be there watching it, but we'll make a start just shortly. Thank you. Hey everyone, thank you for joining. We'll be making a start in just a couple of minutes now. Tommy, I might have just dropped off briefly. Can you still see my screen?
No, I can't see your screen anymore.
That's a really awesome time for my internet to start being flaky, isn't it? Are we back?
Yes, I can see it. It's back now.
Okay, excellent. Oh, internet. This is going to be exciting. We've got an extra shot of adrenaline in us, ladies and gentlemen, today. So this might be an extra fast presentation. So we'll be making a start in just 1 minute, internet pending. So yeah, in the meantime, if you have any questions that you might want to ask, the Q&A area is a great place to put those questions because we can track those really easily. Otherwise, in the chat, Domi is looking after the chat and me today. So she'll be there to look after you as well. But yeah, just 1 more minute. I can see the numbers of attendees creeping up, so we'll give people a few more minutes just to join. Alrighty, folks, welcome. We've just hit 4 p.m. here in the UK. Make a start. I'm going to kind of pad out this introduction a little bit because I can see the number of attendees creeping up very slowly. So to make sure that everyone joins before we make a start. But welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Today, I'll be presenting on the key selling points and demoing new functionality for Totara Perform. Today, I am joined by the wonderful and amazing Domi Sinclair, who is one of our technical writers here at Totara. I was just discussing with her that I think maybe we should refer to her as Dr. Docs, but it's under negotiation, I believe. That might just be me that likes that title. But Domi is going to be on the chat and looking after the Q&A area today, and feeding me questions and keeping me on time, and also keeping me calm if my internet drops out again. So today, welcome to everyone that's joining. I can see if the numbers are still creeping up, but the session today will be a mix of predominantly slides, and depending on the kind of questions that we get, maybe jumping over to a live site to demonstrate something in particular, but predominantly slide driven, and some very nice looking screenshots that I've managed to grab and put into my presentation today. As I say, questions are welcome, depending on how we go for time, because there's lots to go through, and you know I'm a talker, so I'll take questions at various points, which will probably be aligned around me needing a sip of tea or water, and Domi will feed me questions relating to that area as we go. Otherwise, I'll make sure there's some time at the end to answer some questions. Domi's also agreed to show off her link foo, and will be in the chat, and as I'm referring to areas maybe in the help docs or the academy, or areas in the partner area of the community site, she'll be helping me out by posting links. So keep an eye on the Q&A and keep an eye on the chat. So a reminder that we are recording today's session, and we will be sharing that recording. We'll do that in the next day or two. It just requires the trimming of Dom and I doing our technical tests at the start and everyone signing off at the end, but we will have that recording to you. And we will be sharing the slides as well. They will be added to the marketing support package for Alliance partners, so you can access my slides. And anything that we don't get through today, so any questions that I can't answer or won't have time to answer, we'll do a follow-up in the forums after this, and probably in the next couple of days, and we'll work through those questions. So don't be concerned if I can't get to you today. We will get to you at some point. So before I kick off, can I ask Domi, is there anyone having any problems hearing me or anything in the chat I need to worry about?
Nope, it seems like it's all good.
Excellent. Right, as long as I can get my laptop working. So like for those of you that joined me yesterday for a similar session on Totara Learn, I want to start with the quick video, the demonstration video that we've recently published. This is available through our website and our YouTube channel, and very much showcases and provides a high-level view of what we'll be drilling into today. It's just a minute 50, so for those who've watched it, you've got bonus time. Otherwise, please do enjoy.
Is your organization stuck with a rigid performance management system that fails to adapt to your changing needs? Or is there a disconnect between the goals of your people and the learning that's prescribed to help them get there? Without a flexible performance management system, you're unable to embrace the new world of performance management practices, or you're stuck with a system that forces you into new performance management practices that you're just not ready for. It's time to tailor performance management processes around your organization. With Totara Perform, you have the flexibility that's essential to the success of your business. Totara Perform adapts to the way you work, the full spectrum from traditional to modern practices. Harness the power of continuous performance management to boost in-office or remote workplace productivity anytime and anywhere. Create evidence-based performance reviews that use real-world data with the Performance Review Workflow Builder. Align employees with company goals and enhance productivity with regular check-ins, continuous feedback, and goal setting. Get an objective view of individual strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities by balancing self-evaluation with input from others via 360-degree reviews. What's more, by combining Totara Perform with Totara Learn and Totara Engage, you'll benefit from an integrated talent experience platform that aligns your people with company goals and empowers them to perform at their best. Visit totaralearning.com or talk to a Totara partner to see how Totara Perform delivers higher performance anytime, anywhere in your new world of work.
Excellent. So there was bonus time for those that have watched it, and if you're very observant, you get to see me now scratching my shoulder every time you watch that video. So this is also a really nice segue to talk about the other resources that we have available to help you understand and sell Totara Perform. So we've got the Academy courses, we've got some fantastic help documentation, and I would still say that, Domi, if you weren't here. The partner demo videos, so Domi might be kind enough to post a link to where all of the pre-recorded demos are stored, and we've got those for not just Perform, but also Engage and some of the new functionality across Totara Learn 13. We have updated the website. If you haven't checked that out, it's worth having a look, and the product pages have all been updated. There's a range of new marketing resources, not just that video, that there's new items that have been published, and there's more coming, and the RFP database. Now, that kind of relies on you guys a little bit, so I put a coming soon label on that. I need RFPs from you guys, RFPs that you receive around performance management systems. If you can strip out the confidential information and send that to me, then I can start populating that RFP database so that we can have a nice knowledge bank and a quick way to respond to those answers for Totara Perform. Just send those through to me direct and I can start, make a start. Now, one of the obvious questions when we're talking about key selling points in a performance management system is why performance management? It might seem obvious to some people, but there are plenty of organizations out there that aren't using it. And so why are we investing this in performance management through Totara Perform? So performance management is critical to aligning staff around a common set of objectives and goals. It provides opportunities to give feedback and identify professional development needs or opportunities, which are two important steps to increase productivity and capability across the organisation. So employee engagement seems an obvious one. Knowing someone is paying attention to how they're performing and how they can develop further increases employee engagement and helps maintain motivation, which together enhances staff motivation and workplace productivity. It also provides an opportunity to identify skill gaps and development opportunities and can help identify high and low performers before either become an issue, whether that's corrective action for low performers, untapped potential that you could tap into to get better results and greater motivation and productivity from a staff, or perhaps individuals that might become bored and move on because they're not being challenged. So therefore, a performance management system, we've realized that everyone needs one for these reasons, but why an online performance management system? So many organizations have managed just fine with a paper-based format or believe that they have. So why should they invest in an online performance management system? So many of you that have used performance management across version 12 already appreciate the following, but I'm aware, or we're aware, that for various reasons, not everyone has been leveraging this functionality. So besides the obvious environmental impact of less paper and fewer trees sacrificing themselves for our professional development, an online process offers ease of distribution. You're not posting anything, you're not printing anything. Paper can be easily lost, damaged, destroyed. There is no excuses in an online system that your dog ate your online appraisal. It's there and it's stored. And of storage, piles of paper are costly to store. They take up a lot of room. And if you're keeping a large number across many years for auditing purposes, it's a risky process. There's a risk of water damage, fire damage, bugs, rats, mice, etc., theft, which I've classed under organic risks. There's also the ease of finding and accessing previous conversations or discussions for both the manager and the end user. In an online format, you can search and find this historic information much faster. Aligned to this is accessible reporting. So there's no manual upload or processing of data. There's no poor student on their summer break doing data input. It's or being stored or filed incorrectly, and which can be both overwhelming and easily misplaced. We also have greater access control over an online system. So a form with someone else's answers isn't handed out around an organization to include. So you can include feedback in your performance management process from other people without showing or sharing those answers. And you don't have to have multiple forms to collate that information from various sources. And automation. Once everything is set up, things are automatically scheduled. There's automatic reminders and notifications to complete items. The process and people become a lot harder to forget in terms of their performance management. So with there being lots of different ways an organization might employ performance management, we've taken an approach within Totara Perform that's flexible, extensible, and offers employees a continuous performance management model. You'll hear me saying flexible a lot, just a heads up. If you want to make a count, be my guest, but you're going to hear me say flexible a lot. So the system itself is highly configurable and adaptable to both current and evolving requirements and processes. So that's flexible and extensible. ideally, it will be a way to migrate people from either paper-based to an online process, or maybe a shift from the rigid annual appraisal process, which I'll talk about in a moment when I talk about the adoption of continuous performance management, which is our approach around performance management, and research has shown is a much better way of managing performance across an organization. So what do we mean? What do I mean by continuous performance management? So today's workplaces are fast-paced with increasing demands on time and staff, particularly with lots of webinars to produce and perform. With this fast pace comes the need for more frequent performance management touch points. It's not enough to meet once a year when everything changes so rapidly. Think about just this year alone, every month, things are a bit different for everyone. Your employees' expectations therefore change as well. People want more autonomy in their roles. They want a clear path to the mastery of the skills that they need to do their job, and have a shared purpose, shared sense of purpose. Job satisfaction, security, and buy-in to the company culture and objectives are crucial to retaining high-performing staff. If you look at why people leave, it could be because they don't understand how they fit in to an organization, how they'll progress across an organization. So to achieve this, performance management needs to become part of your everyday. So this is the continuous performance management model. So there's a lot on screen right now, and I appreciate that. But because the continuous performance management model is really the foundation of Perform, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time explaining what I mean by some of these. So why is this a key selling point? Besides, responding to a changing workplace landscape and the needs of your staff, what's the what's the big deal with continuous performance management? So despite what you might think, and might be a knee-jerk reaction for some people, with it being an ongoing, it actually reduces time and costs overall. So you can have shorter, more targeted, timely conversations, rather than that big chunk of appraisals once a year. Any of you that do appraisals know that's kind of a dreaded time of year. There's a lot of work involved, and it's an anxious and difficult time for employees as well. So they may be anxious around appraisal time, which ultimately reduces their productivity and happiness, and increases anxiety. And because in traditional processes where you have these annual appraisals, there is an expectation that you'll get a pay rise following your annual review. If you don't, that can rapidly demotivate an individual. But if we have continuous performance management, they may get pay rises at more appropriate times throughout the year, or not, depending on their performance. And that also reduces the cost in terms of the management actions. So by having this kind of ongoing everyday process, well, not every day for everyone, but ongoing process, then managers can identify issues faster and be more proactive than reactive and corrective to issues. So again, if someone is not performing, that's going to be identified a lot sooner, and something can be done about it before it becomes a real problem, or there's a gross loss of productivity from that individual. There's also, in terms of the expectations around an annual process, people might also not go on holiday during that time because they know their appraisal is going to be run, and then suddenly all go on leave afterwards, leaving a gap in users and staff. So there's lots of reasons why having an annual appraisal once a year can be a difficult thing for an organization. There's also bias attached to that one big bang in terms of an appraisal, and that bias is kind of what I would call like being good in December for Santa. It's called a regency bias, if you want to be exact about it, but people tend to perform better and harder when they know an appraisal is coming up. But really, a snapshot of the entire year should be what is used to appreciate and evaluate them. There's also, with one person doing one person's review, if you don't like that person or you really like that person, there is bias that comes into it. People that are friends with their managers versus not may be inclined to get a better annual review than someone that doesn't hang out with them. And things like the feedback functionality, where you get a more rounded view, is one way that you can combat that. So I've talked about identifying problems sooner, so you reduce the risk of losing talent. But you can also develop a deeper understanding of people's needs by meeting with them more frequently. Seeing how they're progressing will give manager a much better idea of these things and ensure that their goals, their development goals, are aligned to the goals of the organization. Now, moving on to the other side, I'm going to move across these ones a little faster because I'm where I've been on this slide for a little while. But also by a continuous performance management process, you can collect and gather achievements across the year, trying to remember back everything that you've achieved while you're doing your annual appraisal can be difficult and you can miss things. And this is one way of ensuring all of that is captured and is therefore actionable. So you can collect more consistent and detailed information across this ongoing process. So, which ultimately improves employee and manager satisfaction, engagement, and morale, which again ultimately improves a business and their productivity. So how does Totara Perform support continuous performance management? So Perform offers a range of hugely flexible performance activity types designed to suit and adapt to the needs of the organization and whatever stage of implementing continuous performance management they're at. So I've said about moving from paper-based to online or from appraisal to continuous, that this is where it can be flexible and adapt to a particular current process and help move people to the continuous process. And pairing those different performance activities across detailed reporting and aligning people, their personal and their organizational goals, that's all achievable across Totara Perform. There's also a significant advancement on the competencies functionality that many or most of you have been using within Totara Learn. And this includes new and improved competency assignment and tracking functionality, a dedicated dashboard or summary area called the competency profile for each user. And my favorite functionality across Totara Perform, multiple achievement paths for obtaining different levels of competencies. Or for identifying different areas on the scale that they've achieved so far. Right, I'm definitely going to ask if there's any questions there, Domi. This tea is calling to me.
There is currently no questions, and since you invited us to keep a count of how many times you said flexible, you're only at 1.
Oh, that is disappointing. Well, strap in,
Yeah.
guys. I'll ramp it up. Okay, so because I'm aware I've got a lot of text on screen, I'm breaking it up with pretty screenshots. So enjoy. Right, so key selling points. Let's drill into these specific items. So we've talked about the benefits of an online system and the continuous performance management system, which are of course selling points, but let's get into this Totara Perform specific functionality. So noting that the following applies across appraisals, feedback, and check-ins. So you can have tailored content within these performance activities. You have multiple question types, which can accommodate a range of different forms or data collection requirements. There's also automated scheduling. You can set activities to be limited or open-ended. You can have a fixed or a relative date, start date. You can have, or scheduling date. You can have it run one time or repeatedly. You can have a due date, or it can be open. And because you have, because it's an online system and because of the improvements across Perform, we have greater access and visibility controls for everyone involved in the process to ensure privacy and confidentiality. We can also accommodate personalized and automated notifications with specified recipients across Totara Perform. And performance activities allow for dynamic changes. So we can accommodate the correction of mistakes or unplanned or planned changes in staff, given performance activities can be reopened and edited for an individual or for an individual activity. This is something that was quite difficult across version 12, and we've made some significant improvements. So you can make an open performance activity, you can make changes to it. And one thing that many people don't realize, which I think is really neat, is that the triggers for scheduling a performance activity, those have been designed as plugins. So partners can adapt and create their own custom triggers for their customers. So you've got a nice development path there. And reporting in Perform is so good. It gets a screenshot and its own slide here. And it's really one of the areas for me that distinguishes itself in terms of functionality that already existed, that's been upgraded and improved across Totara Perform from 12. So the report is comprehensive. It offers drill down or drill in detail. It can report on the status of a particular performance activity, the responses within a performance activity, and on the specific individual or subject of that performance activity. And it is report builder based. So it's customizable, it's editable, it's searchable. You can add your own filters and content filters. And we have comparative reporting. So there's a really nice piece of functionality across Perform, which is a little field called reporting ID. And what that allows you to do is give different questions from different performance activities for different groups, the same reporting ID, and then you can use that to run comparative reports. So you can report on all of the answers to all of those questions if that report ID match. So you can compare 2020 to 2021 responses. You can compare a similar question that is sent to staff in their 360 versus to managers in their 360. So you can compare those responses, whether it be the same question asked at a different time or a similar question asked in a different, for a different group. And there is smart export. So we have a nice export format, but the system also provides kind of accidental and maybe not so smart huge exports of responses. So it's limited to site administrators in some areas, and you have to drill in to really collect that information. So it can prevent or at least mitigate performance related excitements in terms of your site performance by exporting huge amounts of data. Any questions on the chat or Q&A, Dummy?
Yes, we do actually have a question. We have a question about how can we drill down the report, as we would require multiple users with various questions responses.
Right, so I'm going to give you two responses to that question. The first is when you generate a report, the content in that report, assuming that you have the right columns, you can click into that content and drill down further and further from the actual report data. The second answer to that is that Michael Ball has produced a really nice demo of that reporting functionality and how you can drill in a pre-recorded demo, which hopefully hearing tapping, I think Dummy might be preempting my requirements and sending you a link to that course where that recording is sent. So you can see that actually happen, because I appreciate me waving my hands with my camera not on and describing it might not provide you the right answer, but it's within the report. The data that's listed is kind of in link view, and you can drill in by clicking into those links. But yeah, do check out that demo because you'll see it very much in action there. Is that it, Dummy?
Yep, that's the only question we have so far.
Excellent, cool. So let's move on to feedback. So these selling points are specific to the feedback functionality. Everything else before has applied to appraisals, feedback, and check-ins. So there we go. Feedback is incredibly flexible. So you can create your own type of form. It can be 270, it can be 360. That's why we're just calling it feedback, because there's no limits on how you set that up. And this allows or individuals or an administrative user to manually select who's involved in that feedback to ensure that the input collected is from the people the closest to the individual and actually being impacted or viewing their work, which ultimately provides a more rounded view of someone and their work. And because these feedback forms can be distributed across a wide range of users across the organization, and we have that fancy reporting ID field, which makes things comparative, this standardized and measurable view or process alongside being able to anonymize responses does mean that you'll be collecting more open and honest feedback, which ultimately benefits the majority of people involved in a 360 or a feedback. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for me to talk specifically about check-ins, you know, so I'm trying to really work on my Kiwi accent when talking about this particular piece of functionality. So this check-ins are a key ingredient for continuous performance management. They are regular, they're scheduled, they run with reminders, they're automated. So your manager and you are not going to forget to have these check-ins. You're not going to forget that this is important for both of you to speak and to communicate and make sure that they're being proactive in their management and you're being proactive in your employment to make sure that everyone is aligned, everyone's in agreement. And again, what I mean by proactive management is identifying people that are low performers as well as high performers, people that may be sitting right there in the middle, but they're burnt out. There's a lack of engagement, and you can, by meeting more often, you can detect that. Which again, if people know that they're being heard and seen, will ultimately increase staff engagement, which benefits the organization greatly. Anything on check-ins?
We do have a question about feedback.
Oh yeah.
What's the difference between 270 and 360?
Well, a few degrees really, but what I mean personally by 270, oh, hang on, let's start. 360 is typically feedback that is from you, your peers, your staff, if you have them, and your manager, whereas 270 misses one of those steps out. So in previous versions of Totara Learn, we've had 360 feedback, and in version 12, we introduced self-feedback. So up until that point, I was referring to that functionality as 270, but really it just means that one of those 4 groups of people aren't included. I mean, you could quite easily run 270 without involving your manager, but I would say it'd be highly inadvisable, but it's where one of those 4 groups aren't included.
And we do have another question.
Oh, yeah?
If we've got time. Within the new notifications, can we select other time periods rather than just days, such as weeks or months?
Within the notifications, it's kind of event driven, but the scheduling, yeah, you can specify. If I can maybe flick back to the screen where I had it. Oh, it's way back machine. Here, so you've got options in terms of setting those dates. So there's a huge amount of flexibility in terms of when you trigger those events and therefore schedule them. That's across all performance activities, and that's not restricted to feedback. Johnny, do you reckon you might have a docs page on that you might be able to post?
Yes, I can post a link.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
Believe.
I'm so glad you're here. Okay. Anything on check-ins or any other questions before I move on to competencies?
There's one other question about how you alter text that's being sent out in different scenarios, I believe for notification emails.
What I might do is park that question just to answer it in the forum so I can provide you maybe some screenshots and a better response than I can here. For the person that answered that, I hope you don't mind. But again, that might be something that Domi might provide you a link to, but I'll follow that up in the forums after the fact. It might be a better response for you than me talking at you.
Thank you, that's appreciated. I'm sure it's appreciated.
By everyone. Thanks, Tommy. Okay, so moving on to competencies. Alrighty, so even though many of us have been working with competencies in Totara Learn for some time, I know that there are a good number of organizations not using this functionality. So today I'm going to include key selling points on some of the existing functionality, or at least functionality that you should be familiar with, as well as the new improvements and new functionality across Perform for competencies. So quickly just moving through, what I mean by competencies. They are the various skills, behaviors, and knowledge required across your organization by different individuals across that organization. And you can support different groups and their particular learning requirements or knowledge behaviors, needs and requirements with the use of multiple frameworks. And you can automate the import and update of these competency structures and the competencies within them using the HR import functionality. You can build customized scales. So scales can be developed by or for an organization which have the different levels of competence and proficiency levels that they want, that resonate with their learners across their organization. And competencies can be linked to specific training via course completion when you tie in Totara Perform with Totara Learn. So you can link that formal learning to the completion of one part of a competency. And with the addition of audience-based assignments across Totara Perform, so you can assign competencies by audience. This provides both automated and very targeted assignment of competencies across the system. And for even more targeted, if audience isn't targeted enough, then you can even assign competencies to an individual. And if you allow it, individuals can assign competencies to themselves. And Totara Perform offers a streamlined assignment of these competencies, not just because it's automated, but now you can, not just by using audience, but you can also use positions in organizations to be assigned at the competency level rather than at the position and organization level. So in the past across Learn, within each position that you create, you would have to link a competency. Now, when you create a competency, you link one or many positions. So it's much faster, much streamlined, and a much more intuitive and faster process than before. And it's my favorite screenshot, I think. We also offer advanced tracking of progress and achievement of competencies across Totara Perform. So there is a competency profile, that's that dashboard that I mentioned at the start, which acts as a dashboard for every user, showing all of their competency assignments and their progress, where they can see at a glance what they've achieved and what they still need to complete or achieve. And this is offered as a configurable visual or text-based and drill down display. And possibly my favorite feature again, I don't know why I love this so much, but is multiple achievement paths. This allows you to have, for users to achieve different levels of competencies through predefined criteria, such as the completion of linked courses or other specified courses or manual ratings, or a combination of these. So this creates an automated and flexible competency tracking solution. So it means that you can have a competency which has various stages based on which scale you use, and then you can set the criteria for achieving each of those scales or items on the scale. And those criteria can be a range of things. So like I said, linked courses, or just on assignment, or specific courses, or manual ratings, or I say a combination of those. So as you go up that scale, so as you become more proficient, in theory, the requirements would be greater. And it may be that only an individual can say you are now proficient. It's entirely up to you. So, and what's super neat again is that these achievement paths are also plugin based. So partners can create their own, whether that might be something like activity completion. It might be a particular achievement paths or anything else like that, that can be developed. Of course, we'll be continuing to develop these across the core platform, but as partners, you can provide tailored solutions and plugins to these achievement paths for your customers. So I'm going to pause on this really pretty competency profile screenshot and ask if there's any questions, Dami.
I don't see any questions at the moment, no.
Okie dokie. Oh, that's good news. All right. So goals. Now, one of the key benefits of continuous performance management is ensuring ongoing alignment of an individual's actions, skills, behaviors, and development and performance, and make sure that it's aligned with their career goals and the needs and the wants of the business. Now, I'll note here that the goals haven't changed from what you have seen and used to across Learn 12, across Perform, but further work is planned in future releases. And it does remain part of Perform and tied very heavily to continuous performance management. So I'll touch on it here. So they remain a good tool for assigning and tracking personal and organizational goals. And because they can be assigned via audiences, there is a degree of automation and personalization across goals. And again, you can create custom scales which resonate with an organization and multiple scales. So depending on the kind of goal that it might be, you might have different goals, which allow staff and managers to measure success and make sure that it is aligned with their development requirements. You can report across the progress and status of these goals at both a personal level and an organizational level. So they remain a fantastic tool and very much part of that continuum. And there's a nice screenshot. So moving on to the competitive advantages of Totara Perform. Those of you that attended my session yesterday will recognize this slide, except for it's now in blue. A lot of these competitive advantages remain the same. It's difficult for us to go into a functionality shootout with existing performance management systems because very few offer free and open access to their software to compare that. But there are some things that we know, and we know that we have an open technology framework. The partners can go in and I'm avoiding saying that if flexible. It is flexible, it is adaptable. Alliance partners can get in there and change. They can use that plugin structure for those triggers and those achievement paths. They can apply branding and theme. And of course, leverage all of the functionality that's available at the Totara core level. So the automation through audiences and HR import, the report builder tool, HR import, all of those things. We also know that the product is priced competitively. It is a cost-effective solution, and particularly when it is paired with any of the other products and that discount model that we're offering with the first, second, and third products, Totara Perform, Learn, and Engage. And because it's a Totara product, we have the advantages of the Totara Academy, the free and amazing tool that it is to learn about how to use these products and get the most out of them. There's the help documentation and the support desk. So probably the biggest competitive advantage is it does plug in to the other Totara products, Totara Learn and Totara Engage. Together, it forms the talent experience platform, but in combination with different products, you can achieve different things. So with Learn, you can provide very much a complementary link between formal learning and development and professional and career development. With link to Totara Engage, you can help recognize participation and collaboration and engagement from mentors and subject matter experts and talent across the organization and feed that into performance management. And of course, the full talent experience platform offers a full learning, development, and engagement suite. Now, Totara Perform doesn't have to be used alongside these other products. Because of its open framework, you can integrate it with other solutions. So if you come across organizations that have another learning management system or don't want a learning management system, you can always plug the two together. Totara Perform can work with other systems and used very much independently. Now, before I jump into the setup for the demo, anything I need to respond to there, Domi?
Yes, we do have a few questions. So there's a couple of questions about goals. So one question is, how will goals be incorporated into Perform?
So goals sit within Perform now. So when you look at a site, I'll bring up a local site here. Well, this isn't actually, this is a site. You'll see this is the full talent experience platform. So this has everything in it, and this is a non-customized but configured site. And as I open develop, which is the Totara Perform functionality, I don't have any goals, but they would appear along here, and all configuration across goals would be through the Perform functionality, the Perform configuration. I suspect it's going to tell me I'm not logged in recently enough. Oh no, surprise. So if I can go to the Perform settings, that'll all be within the goals area there. So currently they're not enabled. So it works in that way in terms of navigation. Otherwise, how they work and connect is the same as what you're used to.
Thank you for that. We have another question about goals, which is whether it's possible to integrate Totara Perform and goals with goals from other portals such as Salesforce.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could. Oh, don't die me now, internet. Can you hear me, Nobby? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, God. There's another shot.
Yes,
10 cc's of adrenaline. Okay. I'm just going to get through the next 10 minutes, internet. So, I mean, you can import goals into the framework. Maybe that's one I'll park for Perform, because I'd like to give a better, more measured response to that. And we've still got a fair bit to get through. Apologies to that person who asked.
And then the other question that we have is whether there's any research data as to why Integral Education Portal is better than to have separate solutions. So I think integrated.
Integrated. Well, yeah, we're actually releasing a range of white papers and research across that. There's something called the 5 Disruptors ebook, which will be available soon, which, yeah, lots of research, lots of statistics for you. So stand by for that, which will very much justify that talent experience platform. So yes, please, we'll provide links to that once it's available, and that will answer all of the questions. I've seen a sneak preview today, and it's great stuff.
Thank you. No other questions at this time.
Thank you. So starting to wrap up this session, this is also on demoing functionality. And what I've created here is a checklist indicated by the square boxes. Please don't print these off. Tick them off in your mind. And what this is are the various things that I suggest you add to your Totara Perform course or Totara Perform site so that you can demo the functionality. So because you're getting a copy of these slides, I'm going to move through these really fast, but just so you know that they're here, this is what I have to do or had to do to create my local site and get everything set up for testing. So I documented it as I went and put it in a logical order, which will work really well for you guys. So this checklist is a resource for later. Now, just to wrap up today, I also included some ideas of how to demo this functionality, and I'm approaching this from different workflows. So quite often a good approach is starting off logging in with the end user experience, which case I'm calling a staff member, and logging in as them. And this is the workflow that you could go through, which will not only make a little bit of sense in terms of flow for performing a demo, assuming the person you're demoing isn't asking you questions, but will also set you up for the next use case. So we'll move on to manager after this. So again, this is a resource to use after the fact, but just to explain what I mean by these things. So you would log in as a staff member, you would view their competency profile dashboard and see that they had multiple competencies assigned through various assignments. You could see the content there, look at the graphs, the spiderweb diagrams and the bar graphs. They could self-assign a competency, they could rate their own competency and look at how they need to achieve the next step in a competency using the achievement paths. and so on. So this is just making sure they hit on all of the functionality that Totara Perform provides, these workflows. So again, just going to start to speed up and start to wrap up here. Again, you'll get the recording, you'll get these slides to use after the fact. So these are the different workflows I suggest you potentially go through. And again, you know, completing items for a staff member will allow a manager to respond to them, and then the site administrator will be able to capture that information and that work. So that's my approach to demoing. Everyone works differently, but that I have found has worked using that kind of user workflow. So I'm aware of the time. I've been talking for a while. My voice is very weird. I've been talking for a while, and we've been answering questions as we go. Before I open the floor to any other questions, for those that don't perhaps have something you'd like to know, I'd like to ask you a question, which is from this session and from the other resources that you've provided. Do you feel that you have everything that you need to start discussing Totara Perform with both new and existing customers? If you don't, please post what other information you might want or need, or any assistance we can provide in the chat. Otherwise, I open the chat and Domi up for any other questions that I might be able to respond to today.
So we've just had a question that says that you mentioned that you can use Perform with other systems. Is that correct, outside of Totara?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an open system, so you can connect to any other system you want. Whether it makes sense is another discussion, but just like you could with Totara Learn, you can integrate Totara Perform with other systems. I'm suggesting that with HR import, you can connect to other systems that might collect user information and competency information specifically, but in theory, anything is possible with an open framework.
Thank you. We have another question. Are there model competency frameworks for organizations that don't have their own?
I don't believe we have those. You might find some examples in the academy. There are quite a few online resources available, so you can leverage them. And what I would suggest, in fact, you do maybe is post in the partner forums and ask if anyone has some example competency frameworks that they're willing to share, because they are exportable, and that format is re-importable into Totara Perform. So maybe there's some standard that people are willing to share.
I can't see any other questions at this time.
Okay, folks, well, in that case, we'll give it a couple more minutes just to post any feedback that you might have on today's session or anything else that you require. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you very much, Domi. I really appreciate it. You being the co-hostess with the mostest. And again, the recording and these slides will be made available in the next couple of days. So thank you so much, everyone. Alrighty, Domi, how's that chat? Is it slowing down a bit?
Yep. We've got some thanks in the chat, but I'm not seeing any other questions popping up.
Cool. We shall call it a day then. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Domi.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Bye.